So I'll start with 3 quick questions. What are you doing right now? What should you be doing right now? And what would you like to be doing right now? Now, I do hope that the answer to all 3 of these questions is watching this video. But if you're anything like me, sometimes those questions have different answers at any given moment. And this is the dilemma of how we make the most of our time, by understanding the way that we're using our time. Now, this isn't a video on a complete time management or productivity system, although it certainly has some of the elements of both of these. In this video, I'm going to share with you something I call time awareness. The idea behind time awareness is that if we're aware of how we spend our time, it's the first step in getting better understanding of how to use our time in an effective way. You know, we all just get the same amount of time. That's a classic. Everybody says that. But whether you're a student or a teacher or a consultant or just someone seeking to get more things done, it's really important to have a system of time awareness. So in this video, it's really about getting to a point, a starting point on how you're using your time so that you can build something on top of that. Hello, my name is Frank, and here on this YouTube channel, Learning and Technology with Frank, we look at ways that we can use technology to learn, teach, and be more productive. If that sounds interesting to you, then I hope you'll watch this video and maybe some of the other videos here on the channel. And if you find them interesting, I hope you'll consider subscribing and liking and or commenting down below. So if we're planning the hours of our day, the days of our week, the weeks of our months, and the months of our lives, everything will have a common core. We need to start by being aware of what is happening with the time we have. Planning ahead means that we're tracking the past, which is done in the present. So now let me clarify that a little bit. Imagine that you're a student and you're studying for an exam, or if you're a consultant and you're determining how many hours it's going to take you to complete an assignment for a client. And if you're a team, how long will it take your team to do an assignment for a client? Well, where do you even begin? You could just jump in and start, and I know that I've done that more than once. And in my case, I only discovered that my time estimations of what I thought it would take me and what it did take me were way off. You know, there was no real sense of awareness until I got experience. Because what you can do is you can look at the time that you've used in the past to complete a similar task, and then you use that as a basis for any new and future tasks. This is actually something that I've done with students in the past. I'll do an experiment where I ask the students to read a book for 30 minutes, and I have them keep track of the number of pages that they were able to read within that 30 minutes. And this provides a bit of a baseline that allows them to start predicting how long any book will take them to read. So let's say they read 25 pages in that 30 minutes. Then it would be 50 pages per hour that they could read. So therefore a 200-page book should take about 4 hours to read. It never does. I mean, there's always factors that come into play, like the complexity of the material that you're reading, sustaining an interest in reading for that period of time, taking breaks, and more factors come into play. But it does give you some estimate of the commitment that's going to be required in order to read that book. For example, this is how I know that I'm going to have to live to be 223 years old in order to read all the books that I currently want to read. And I'm going to have to live to be 457 years old if I include all the movies that I like to watch. So that's a lot of work. So the saying goes, you can't manage what you don't measure, which is attributed to Peter Drucker, who is an author of many, many important books on business. And it can seem overwhelming to have to do all this measuring. It seems like time tracking might be the answer, or maybe journaling, or maybe creating a habit tracker. We see a lot of videos, we see a lot of, folks here on YouTube, myself included, that are really fans of doing those types of things. But even though they can be very valuable, sometimes they can get too complex for their own goods, especially taken into the extreme. So we definitely don't want to be in a situation where the time that we're spending measuring exceeds the time used in actually doing the things that we want to do. So I've seen cases where people will write in a journal 3 hours a day. They're making their journal perfect. They're spending time with their journal. Their journal becomes a hobby for them. And I mean, that might just be reaching a point of diminishing returns on what the purpose of that journal is. So, it's funny, whenever I see a job posting and it says that you need to have good time management skills, I always picture someone going into the interview or saying that their time management skills are so good that it's all they can do at work. All they do at work is time manage all day long. And obviously that wouldn't be a very good selling feature or a great fit for any job. But anyone that does a lot of work knows that organizing that work based upon an understanding of time is essential. And in some cases, like lawyers or consultants, that time is also billable hours, and you need to capture and report on those billable hours. And there's certainly a lot more to be said about this topic. We could talk about two-dimensional time management. We could talk about three-dimensional time management. We could talk about task funnels and all numbers of advanced systems and management frameworks that can help you become more efficient with your time. And comment down below if you'd like some deep dives into some of those things. Things like, getting rid of tasks, automating tasks. There's a lot we can do. But this all begins with one thing, and that's time awareness, which is actually the point of this video. So I've tried a number of ways to build time awareness. I've used notebooks, so I have lots and lots of different notebooks. I still use them. I have different blank day timers. I'll go to a page in the future here. So I have timers in the future where I'll write down my appointments and go hour by hour to capture what I've done. And I get pretty humbled by these systems when I realized that I was putting in more work to managing the system than the work that I was getting out of it. And it's fair enough, some cases it's a good ratio, spending 2 hours for 1 hour of work is a good ratio, sometimes even more. Like if I was launching myself into space, I'd spend way more time planning before I hopped on top of a rocket for a 5-minute ride into space on an exploding cylinder. So the ratio has to make sense for what you're doing. For me, though, for things that I was doing, it seemed a little bit much because I wanted to get into studying. I wanted to get into learning. I'm a bit obsessed with planning, but I didn't want that analysis paralysis that they talk about. So, in fact, I have let me know below if you want a video on how I read a book better. So I've got a whole system of reading as well. But anyways, so what was my answer to this overload of process over performance? Well, recently I've been using this neat little technical tool because this is a learning and technology channel. Learning and technology with Frank. And the tool that I'm using is called Toggl. So I thought I'd introduce it here. They're actually helping out the channel by sponsoring this video. And if you want to help out the channel, check out my new membership options as well. All help is appreciated as I'm working to grow this channel. Toggl Track, the application that I'll show you in this video, is from a company called Toggl that makes a number of different products that help you manage your team, do hiring, do planning, those types of things. Toggl Track is a great application for tracking your time for time awareness. Right now I'm working mostly as an individual, but it's something that I'm hoping to build in the future as this YouTube channel grows. I'll need to manage a team and the time of the team. So the nice thing about Toggl is it's super simple to use, super simple to track time, and I can generate reports, and then I can use that for planning and make sure that everything is going according to what I'd like to do. It's actually probably best if I show you. Let's go take a look at Toggl and we'll go through some of the features. I think you'll be pretty impressed at how simple it is and also how effective it is. So I'm going to start by signing up for Toggl. I'll go to Toggl Track, and it gives me a number of different choices of what I'd like to use Toggl for. In my case, I'm going to use it for studying. So I'll use this as, let's say I'm going to school, and I can have it as part of a team, but it's just going to be me. So I'm going to use the trial version I have for myself, and it's going to be for education. You have a lot of different choices of what you want to put in here. And then I can add projects. So let's say I'm taking 3 courses in school. So I'm going to be using this for chemistry, and I'm going to be using this for my history course that I'm taking. And then maybe I'll do another course, let's say physics. And I can always add additional things in here once I'm in Toggl. I'm just going to start with these 3. And then I can connect it to my calendars. So I'll connect it to my Google Calendar. And of course, I'll have to authenticate, but it's all good. And I'll start my trial and I'll get tracking. So I've got a fresh account here. I've been using it a little bit this week as I'm starting to learn the tool. So I've been using it at work, but I can go in and I can say, what am I working on? So you can put in the topic that you're working on. Now you can also go in, once you put this in, let's say I want to be more specific. I'm working on my chemistry class. I'm working on the first module. I can now assign what I'm working on to one of those projects. And here's where I could also create a new project, but I have chemistry here, but I can have any number of projects in here. And when I press the button, I'm starting to track. So now everything I'm doing, I'm working on chemistry, life is good, and it's starting to keep track of what I've done with my chemistry studies. And as I build more, I can put a retroactive entry in here for as well. So let's say I studied chemistry module 2 earlier today. I'm doing interleave practice, that's why 2 comes before 1. But I can again assign that to a project. I can also put tags in here. So let's say there are specific areas of chemistry that I'm studying. I can go ahead and create tags. So for example, if I'm studying organic chemistry or whatever tags are appropriate. So as you go through the subject, you might wind up with many tags. If you're a business, then this is great where you could do things for clients and you could have specific things that you're doing for the client. So you can see in here, I can also go in, I can see if I have an organization with multiple people using my Toggl account. I can see basically what everybody's up to at any given time, which is useful. So I can say, oh, someone's working on that file. I don't need to work on the file, or I could go and join them, whatever the case may be. And I can go in, you can see I've only got about a minute that I've been working on chemistry here, but I can get a list view. So I can list everything that I've worked on or am working on. I can go in and you'll notice here that I have the time in here, but these are also showing as being billable. So I have a timesheet in there. So I can go in and I can make modifications here. So I can go and use Toggl Plan for planning. I can use Toggl Work for expense management and such. And there's a lot of other things that Toggl does do. They have some other features. For example, you can use things like hiring. They have a hiring module in there. In this video, I'm focusing more just on the time awareness. So I'm more interested in the Toggl tracking. So you can see I can get reports on the duration that I've spent on different tasks. Right now, it's about 100% chemistry that I've been working on. But as I build more, like I said, I've been using this with a different account at work, and it's allowed me to keep track on different projects and priorities that I'm working with, which I really quite like. So I can go in here and I can see, for example, by project, and I can see what I've been working on this week and such. I can go into my, I can go into a summary here to see the total hours at work. I can go into a specific chemistry module here. I can see if I drop this down, I can go into my take actions on here. I can do things like look for approvals. This is more appropriate if I have, say, a team that I'm working on to approve the time that I've spent on something. So we can have that with approval. Go to my project view to see the different projects. If I go in here, I can do things like generate a project template. I can go into the project itself, go into the, let's say I'll edit the project here, and I could say this project is under advanced settings. I'm going to make this non-billable. So I'll go and make this a non-billable project, which of course would be appropriate for education. So I go in here, if I'm studying something, if only we could build back the things that we were learning. You might gamify this. You might decide that if you work on something, you could give yourself a reward. So maybe it's not dollars, but maybe it's if you work on something for a certain period of time. Obviously, there's a difference between using the tracker for business as opposed to studying. Can see what's active. I can create a client if I want to create a client if I'm a business in here. You might want to even get fancy and say, okay, my client is my prof or whoever, but I wouldn't do that. I would just use this, if for studying, I would just use this to keep track of the hours that I'm putting in. You can set rates if you are billable as well, so you can set different rates for different clients and different services and different tags. But we won't do that. We can generate invoices. Again, not applicable to studying. Tags are very applicable though, so I can go and search the tags. Right now I only have the one tag I created, But let's say I put in a bunch of tags as part of my chemistry class. I could go in, add a bunch of different tags in here, and then I'll have all of these different tags, maybe the subject or the objectives of my chemistry course. I can set goals. I really like setting goals for my studying. So in this case here, let's say I wanted to go in. It has an autofill for my Dashlane password manager, but I'm going in there, I'm just typing this in. I'll get rid of this pop-up in a moment. So this is my chemistry course, and I'm going to be the member of the chemistry course. I can select projects and tags in here. So chemistry is my project. And then I can say I'd like to study chemistry for at least, let's say 2 hours every day, and we'll end it on the 31st. And I can make that continue to go. I can make it no end date if it's something ongoing. But now I have this nice little goal, and I've done a little bit of gamification here in terms of how long I want to spend studying chemistry every day. So that's really good, especially if I want to plan for a final exam or plan for a paper that's due. I can also connect it up to other calendars from here. And there is a number of native integrations that we have. So if you are working with Toggl Plan or some of the other things like Salesforce or Asana or QuickBooks for billing, you also have a number of web plugins. So you can plug this into Chrome, and you can have plugins for Toggl. So you're able to start timers right from there as well. Of course, you can look at your subscription and such. And if you go to your admin console, this is where you could add additional members if you're part of a team. You could modify your organization, put information what's here. This is also where you could enforce two-factor authentication. So even as an individual, you might want to put two-factor authentication in there for even more security. And again, we have all our reporting for overviews. You can see I haven't really been working on chemistry for 8 minutes. I've been demonstrating Toggl for 8 minutes, but the idea is that it is keeping track of whatever I said that I was working on. And that has a lot of power and a lot of value, because now I'm getting a much greater sense of time awareness. Now, one of the things that's really important is that we have a frictionless experience where I can use it on Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and Toggl Track provides that as well. I can download the Windows app, I can introduce a Chrome extension, I can use it for iOS or Android. So I'm installing the Windows version right now, and this is going to allow me to run Toggl Track while I'm working on Windows. I can even keep track of applications that I'm using, how long I'm using those applications, and exactly what I'm doing. I can have this installed on a Mac, on a Windows system. I can set reminders of when I'd like my reminders to come up for things that I'm tracking. So that's good. I can set up reminders on weekdays and all week, any time of the week. I could go in and use shortcut keys. So for example, if I want to show or hide Toggl Track, I could have a quick shortcut key. The big thing with shortcut keys is you want to make sure that they're not keys that you're using for something else. So I put Control T, but I do have that for something else. But you can find a free key, shortcut key on your system. I can look for recording different activity. I can decide whether or not I want to sync the local activity, yes or no. So I'm keeping it private. I can have a little mini timer. So I do like this because it puts a little mini timer on there. I'm already connected to my calendar. I could download the mobile app if I haven't already downloaded it. In my case, I have, so I've downloaded it, and I can choose my dark theme or light theme mode. I'll go with dark theme, just make it a little bit fun today, and we'll put dark theme. And now I have my list of activities. Notice these are carried over from the web. So the web interface that I use to set these up, they carry over because it's all the one account. And this will all be on my mobile device as well, which I find extremely useful. And I have this little mini timer here, so I can minimize the main window. I'm going to show you some demos in there, but I can have this little mini thing, widget in here that I can just have and put what I'm working on quickly. But I can go into my list if I want to go, or my larger app if I want to go into more detail, and I can set up tags and such. That little mini widget is very useful if I just want to quickly say, start timing me working on YouTube editing. And then I'll go in and clean it up a little bit later with tags or specific videos that I might be working on and such. So lots of control here through the app. You can see my calendar again. Scroll down, I can see what I have been working on, what I am working on. Go into my settings, and this is really interesting because I can actually drag this onto an open application, and it'll keep track of me working with that application. So maybe I want to keep track of certain things that I'm doing at work. So maybe I want to, for example, if I'm doing marking, I might want to say how much time am I spending in a marking or grading application. So you can connect up to, of course, the different Toggl apps like Planner and such. So there's different apps that you can connect up to, just make everything a fully integrated time management environment. But again, this video, although it really comes across as time management, is really more about time awareness. This is step one. Before I can really start doing a lot of planning, I need to be aware of what I'm doing with my time, and Toggl Track is perfect for that. Both keeping track of my time for clients, for studying, or just to see, how am I spending my days? How am I using my time? So I can go in, and again, I can see all of the things that I've done on my calendar. I have my little thing here for 3 minutes, so it's a little hard to grab, but you can, of course, go in and you'll probably do things for more than 3-4 minutes before you end the process. And there are some really neat features in here as well. You can see my calendar is pretty blank, but I can also do a Pomodoro right here from a Toggl Track. So I can set up my Pomodoro. The typical 25-5 Pomodoro is the default. And if you're interested in Pomodoro technique, I do have a video on the Pomodoro technique here on the channel. But I just started, and now I can be doing some different Pomodoros, perfect for studying, of course, where I could do a 25-minute study, 5-minute break, 25-minute study. So let's say I'm going to study physics, and I'm going to do some Pomodoros on that. So I'm sitting down to do my physics homework or whatever I'd like to do. I'm going to study the mathematical part of physics, and then off my timer is going, I can go in and just start studying. In the background, it's actually making a ticking sound. I can turn that on and off depending on whether I want the ticking sound or not. I tend to prefer to work in silence, but other people like that little auditory reminder that you're in a timer. And then I can turn that off. Now, when I turned it off, I just turned off the Pomodoro so I can see everything I'm working on. So if I turn it off, I've turned off the Pomodoro, now the break. I've now turned off the break. If I want to actually end the Pomodoro itself, what I'll do is I'll go back into Pomodoro and I'll just say end the entire session. So as you're doing the Pomodoros, you're stopping each phase along the way. It's very handy. I've got everything in here, and I can clean this up. So I have my work account, which has a lot of, I guess, confidential or private information in there. But here we have my Toggl tracker letting me know exactly what I'm doing with my time. If you've watched the video to this point, then I sincerely hope that it was worth your time, that you've gotten some ideas and maybe a useful tool to help you study, learn, teach, or be more productive. I'll put links down below to Toggl. I think it really is worth checking out and seeing if it's a good fit for your own time management needs. I think when I was consulting a lot, I would have loved a tool like Toggl, so I'm pretty sold on it, but you check it out for yourself. If you did like the video, hit a little like button down below because that helps the channel. And I'm really interested in your comments and your thoughts about this. Do you think that this will be a good tool for you to use in your own time awareness? Do you have other ways of looking at time awareness? Let's have some conversation and build a bit of a community to see if we can't teach and study and learn and be more productive together. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.